So I'm asked a lot, what is a day like with Nick Vujicic? I have one word to describe that: adventurous. My name is Richie Pacheco. I'm actually one of Nick's caregivers. I grew up in the city of Chicago with a very loving, strong mother. My mom raised me by herself until I was around 9 years old. It wasn't until I got into high school which I started to get into a little mischief. Started hanging around with the wrong crowd. At the age of 15, I discovered what alcohol was, and then I discovered marijuana. I got very, very deep into alcohol probably by the time I was around 24 years old. I started selling drugs. I was selling marijuana and I was selling cocaine. And that actually happened for about a good 4 or 5 years. And then it all came to a crumbling end when I was 26. And I came to a place where it was so dark. I ended up in jail for 2.5 months. All I envisioned was my little brother and my sister coming to see me in jail. And I was sitting there for about a good 4 or 5 hours. And I grew up with a Catholic upbringing. I always had a strong faith, but I didn't have that actual connection with God. And I remember just crying out to God in that jail cell. And I said, God, if you're real, get me out of this situation, and I will never, ever come down this road ever again. But I still had no knowledge, no understanding, no revelation of really the Spirit of God. And so for a good 5 years, I was still tampering with alcohol. I lost my job. I lost a place where I was living. It got so bad that I was living and sleeping out of my car for 3.5 months. Well, I had an eye-opener. I had a radical encounter with God. And God just showed me my whole entire future. And I heard it so clearly. He says, Richie, I've been trying to get your attention all this time, but you've been running so fast, trying to do things your own way. And let me talk to you. And it was just like that. I got delivered. I cried out to God and I said, God, I give you everything. I gave my life to the Lord. I'm in Santa Monica one day, and there was a guy who was about to jump off a cliff as I am in my car, homeless. And the Lord uses me to minister to this guy, to tell him about what just transpired in my life and how God has delivered me and how God gave me hope, how God has given me purpose. And you know, the guy decided not to jump off that cliff that day. I ended up taking him to the Dream Center the very next day in my car. Now, if it was all for just that one person of going and living and sleeping out of my car for 3.5 months just to save that guy's life, it was worth it. And I met Nick in 2007 at his house, and he just came in from Australia. And I remember he says, oh, you know, I go around the world and this is what I do. And I, you know, I could use some assistance. Pray about it, think about it. So I remember just going home and praying, and I said, Lord, this is the stupidest idea. I think this is crazy. I just don't see myself doing this. Ministry, what is that? I didn't understand what ministry work was. And the Lord just kept on impressing in my heart. This is where I'm leading you, Richie. Don't you remember you said you'd do anything for me? Well, this is part of the plan. So I remember my very first day, I called back Nick. I said, yes, I'll say, the Lord's releasing me. It'd be an honor to serve you and to serve in this ministry. When do I start? He said, well, this is the day. So a daily routine with Nick, basically in the morning, we would start Mr. Nick Vujicic off with a nice hot cup of coffee, and that kind of wakes him up. He lays in bed probably for about a good 40 or 50 minutes. I'm sure that's his prayer time. And at that point, then we give Mr. Vujicic a shower, and we brush his teeth and we get him all ready and pick out his clothes. And I basically lay it out and I prepare it to iron it. After his shower, we dress him, and then at that point we look at our daily schedule and we see what exactly the day planned out. And so then we'll get him into the car and we'll go off and we'll drive off to the event. I'm just one piece to this puzzle of life without limbs. Now all this time I'm writing in my diary what's happening throughout my day. And at the end of that diary, I'll put, let's do it. And with that attitude and with that heart, I've been put in some blessed situations. I've met some remarkable people. It's just been an adventurous ride serving Nick. It's been an adventurous ride serving in the ministry of Life Without Limbs. And it's such a great joy. And so I just challenge those who are listening to go with the heart of service, to go with no expectation, but just saying, God, here's what I have, use it. And you'll see how God will move in your life. It's amazing.